Arkansas's private option didn't happen today. Good evening, I'm Ashley Katz.
Hello, good evening, everyone. I'm Bob Clausen. Thanks for joining us tonight at 6 o'clock. House Speaker Davy Carter says that he is moving on with the rest of the budget session, even without a solution on health care expansion. KRK4's David Goins joining us now live with more on what's next, if anything, at this point for the private option. David.
Yeah, Bob, House Speaker Davy Carter says he's moving on with the rest of the session. It's really unclear whether the House will vote again on this health care expansion, but taking today to make the case that a handful of members asking for negotiations have in fact negotiated in bad faith.
We can't get this, let's go home and we'll come back in a special session and handle it.
Representative Nate Bell says he tried offering a change to Arkansas's private option a few weeks ago that would end outreach for the program. It was controversial, but supporters went along with it to keep health care for more than 100,000 Arkansans going.
At this point, the folks who are for the program have negotiated with me in good faith.
Now Bell and fellow Republican House Speaker Davy Carter turning the focus to members of their own party.
Had the members followed through with what they told Representative Bell they were going to do, that we would not be sitting in this situation today.
That situation needing 75 votes to pass, the House is now split 73-27, and those 27 noes signing their name to a letter asking for negotiations.
I just walked upstairs. I got a letter from I don't know who, from how many people signed it, but to sit down and negotiate on the bill. But that's been going on for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks.
Are you disappointed in members of your own caucus?
I am.
Can you expound on that at all?
I'd rather not.
House Majority Leader Bruce Westerman, who is opposed to this bill and has been the entire time, says he has no reason to doubt either the House Speaker or Representative Nate Bell, you just saw there, about their recollection of how this entire negotiation process has gone down. But he does hope at some point those negotiations can resume. Live at the state capitol, David Goins, KARK4 News.
David, when we look at this thing, this is legislation, you could say. What happens here, doesn't happen here is going to be known for generations. And when this comes to an individual legislator who may be negotiating, saying one thing's going to happen and then the other happens, and it surprises a lot of folks, that's not going to be soon forgotten by a lot of folks.
Yeah, obviously the primary, responsibility, Bob, at this point is for them to either, get this private option issue settled, which the House Speaker believes they can, but there is that sense that whatever happens here and however this is resolved, there will be some long-term, perhaps, repercussions on how state government goes going forward.
It'll be very interesting to see how this plays out. David Goins reporting live at the Capitol tonight. David, thank you very much.
A Pine Bluff priest telling his members he will begin to live his life as a woman. That news came on Sunday from the Reverend at Grace Episcopal Church. KARK4's Dustin Barnes talked to a bishop about what this means for the future of that church.
Yeah, Ashley, Reverend Greg Fry first told someone about his gender change months ago. He went to Bishop Larry Benfield, who oversees the Episcopal churches in the state. The bishop tells me he has great admiration for Fry because he chose not to live behind a mask. Now, this announcement makes Fry the first active priest in the state to be transgender. Fry is married to a woman who is also a priest. Bishop Benfield says this is a shock to everyone, but the Episcopal Church accepts everybody, no matter their gender identification.
It's something that the church is now facing alongside culture, and we're trying to find a faithful response.
And Benfield says he will go to members and church leaders to see what they want to do when it comes to Fry's role at the church. I did reach out to Fry, but I've not heard back from him. Back to you.
The Logan County Sheriff's Office says an inmate has escaped from jail. Again, this is the second time. According to the Sheriff's Office, 49-year-old Gary Topham has been taken from the jail to the Arkansas prison system. He's been on the loose since Monday. There's his picture. If you see him, you're being urged to contact authorities. He briefly escaped from the same facility back in November.
And the Boone County Sheriff's Office arresting a man in connection with child sex abuse and drug use. Deputies say a search warrant turned up marijuana plants and guns at the home of 61-year-old Floyd Lewis. He's being held now on $50,000 bond. He faces drug, gun, and sexual assault charges.
There are certain health risks out there that can be figured out who will be more susceptible than others. But what about your risk of being murdered? A ULR professor is doing just that. Emily Berthelot is working with a $160,000 grant to study who in the country is at a greater risk of being a victim of homicide. She's comparing and contrasting disadvantaged areas and people as a whole.
Disadvantage plays a very large role. It's basically the community disadvantage plays the bigger role than individual factors, but individual factors are important. Being a black male, you have a much higher risk of being the victim of a homicide than a white female.
Some of the concentrated disadvantaged areas in Little Rock, south of 630 and north of the airport. Emily is hoping that those in charge will use the data to make a difference in policies and where resources should go to cut down on homicides.
And the father of Trayvon Martin, a young man killed in an altercation with George Zimmerman in Florida back in 2012, will be coming to the Natural State to talk about violence, to speak out against it. Tracy Martin will be speaking at the Pine Bluff Convention Center on Friday, May 16th. It's part of the Arkansas Martin Luther King Jr. Commission's Stop the Violence Summit. The event is free, but prior confirmation is requested. Lunch will be provided.
In education matters this evening, the American Civil Liberties Union is warning the North Little Rock School District against teaching creationism in the classroom. ECLU released a statement in reference to a middle school lesson which the group says violated part of the U.S. Constitution. The North Little Rock School District issuing a statement in response to the ACLU's warning that reads in part, district administrators have investigated and found that the inappropriate classroom treatment of creationism was an isolated incident taught. This incident occurred for one day in one class period. North Little Rock School District administrators will receive additional training during a staff meeting next week, and teachers will receive more in-depth training during their next professional development day. According to the ACLU, creationism and creation science are sometimes labeled or taught as intelligent design, which is a relabeling of creationism and not a scientific theory.
She's a single mother and educator who still finds time to help out her neighbors in need.
That's right. And tonight at 10, we're going to introduce you to Brandy Brazil. She has a family of her own, but on Saturday mornings, these people are her family.
She's a full-time 5th grade teacher in Bryant, but she's also a faithful volunteer here at the Arkansas Dream Center in Little Rock. But for Brandy, it's about more than just serving up a hot breakfast.
It's all about making other people feel better about themselves, and I just love that.
Tonight at 10, KARK surprises Brandy and pays it forward. See her reaction and also find out who else was in on the secret.
We love secrets. Coming up, though, we're not going to keep this a secret. How a photographer is finding the humanity in homelessness. That's next in Community Matters.
And that little bit of sunshine this afternoon here in Little Rock helped boost temperatures back up to pretty close to average for this time of year. 56 the high, 40 our low, our average high and low 58 and 37. 0.04 of an inch of rain, a little bit of sleet in the Little Rock area over the past couple of hours. We'll let you know how much more to expect and how cold it's going to be over the next couple of days. Details are straight ahead.
From the station that brings you local news that matters, this is